Hi guys, we are just about to start our relaxation float, so you won't need any equipment today, so if you come lie on your backs and we'll get started. So if everyone lies on their backs, feet hip distance apart, and we're going to work on our connection first of all. So where we want to feel that connection is underneath both our feet, the lumbosacral junction, TL junction, both shoulder blades and the back of the head. So we'll start at the feet and we'll just try and get some nice connection now. So we want to be feeling that connection equally from side to side, so just shift your weight from side to side until you can feel more balance between the left and right side. When you feel like you've got that balance, just pause there and then think about where you're feeling that connection. Are you feeling it on the outside of the foot or the inside of the foot? Feeling it on the outside, I want you to try and bring that inner arch down towards the floor by pushing the big toe into the floor, but I want you to keep your knees pointed towards the ceiling so that your outer arch doesn't lift off. And then if you're feeling it more on the inner arch, you're going to do the opposite. So you're going to try and bring the outer arch to the floor, but keep that big toe connected and knees pointing towards the ceiling. So we're keeping our ankles in a neutral position. So then work your way up to your lumbosacral junction, and I just want you to start tilting your pelvis backwards and forwards. So when we go into this forward tilt or anterior tilt, you peel your spine away from the floor, so you'll have this arch underneath your back, and then when you go into your posterior tilt or backwards tilt, you reverse peel your spine into the floor. So we're just alternating between anterior, posterior tilt, lumbar extension, lumbar flexion, and then just pause in the midpoint between the two end ranges where your lower back and pelvis should be in a neutral position. If you put your hands underneath your back shouldn't be lifted off the floor, so you shouldn't be able to get your hands underneath your back, but then equally you don't want to be caved into the floor. And then you're going to work up to your TL junction, or the junction between your upper back and lower back, and I want you to think of your ribs and pelvis like the pages of a book. So we're going to try and bring the pages together. We're going to close the book so that the rib cage and pelvis are parallel with each other. And what we don't want is for the book to be open. In this open book appearance, you get rib flaring, lumbar extension, so we're going to try and close the book. You'll feel more connection underneath your TL junction. And then we're going to work our way to the shoulders. So both shoulders want to be feeling connected equally from side to side. So just again shift your weight from side to side until you can feel like you've got that connection between both sides. And then the shoulders want to be in a neutral position. So if you feel like your shoulders are up by your ears and they're forwards, what we want to try and do is bring them backwards towards the mat, but don't pin them down, so don't pull the shoulder blades together. And then you want to try and externally rotate and depress the shoulders as if they're trying to pull towards the back pocket on the same side. So you'll feel the muscles around the back of the shoulder and underneath pulling the shoulder towards the back pocket. And then the back of the head, wants to push straight down towards the floor. We don't want neck extension and we don't want neck flexion, so it's going to push straight back down, and you'll feel those muscles at the front of the neck switch on. Okay, so once you've got our connection, I want you to put one hand on your chest, one hand on your tummy, and we're just going to start by getting the breath in the right order. So start breathing in and out, and on your breath in you want to feel your hand on your tummy lifting, and on the breath out you want to feel the hand on the tummy lowering. So this flow is all about relaxation, so we're going to be focusing a lot on our breath today. Focusing on our breath can help clear the mind, try and stop us thinking about any of the stresses of the week that have been going on. So just try and switch your minds off and try and focus on your breath and focus on your body. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, through pursed lips. Imagine you're blowing through a straw. Hand on the chest doesn't want to move anywhere, so we're just focusing all the breath on coming down into the abdomen, on the breath in, and then relaxing on the breath out. Just do a couple more breaths. Okay, so once your breath's in the right order, put your hands around your waist, and we're going to now try and create our 360-degree breath. So by that I mean that I want you to feel all the muscles underneath your hands, 360 degrees, the whole way around your abdomen. Expand on the breath in and relax on the breath out. So this wants to be equal from side to side and from front to back. And if you're struggling with any of the areas, I just want you to cough. Feel those muscles expand as you're coughing. And then I want you to try and hone in on those muscles now. And think about those muscles expanding and lifting your hands away. Struggling with one side more than the other, or with struggling getting it into the back, if you really just try and focus on that specific area, give it a poke, give it a prod, and just try and visualize that area and try and just wake those connections up between your brain and the muscles. Do a couple more breaths. Feel that nice big inflation around the abdomen. Okay, so now we've got our 360 breath, we're going to work on the brace. So when we take our 360 breath in, before you take your breath out, I want you to do an outward push, like you're imagining that you're about to fart. And then try not to let the muscles completely relax as you're breathing out. So the brace isn't a clench, it's not tense, and you're not pulling your belly button in towards your spine. It's an outward push. And now you're breathing in and out and trying to keep that level of activation, which is really important day to day when you're doing things that need more stabilisation. But obviously the amount that you need will vary depending on what you're doing. Okay, so now we've got our connection, we've got our positioning, we've got our 360 breath and our brace. We're just going to start the flow by making sure we've got that nice activation of the 360 breath and that brace, and we're just going to lift up both the hands into the sky and both the legs off the floor, but really slowly. And then slowly lower them back down. And lift up again. And then take the arms back, as far back as you can, with keeping the ribs and pelvis connected. And then slowly lower back down. And what we're trying to do is keep that neutral pelvis and neutral lower back as we're lifting and lowering. What we don't want is for that pelvis to kick forwards as we're lifting and lowering the legs. So this movement is just coming from the hips and the shoulders. Nice and slow. Focusing on your breath. Depending on how your back is at the moment, if you have got a lower back, you might just want to do single legs. But if your back's feeling nice and strong, then stick with double legs. And then I want you to just bring your legs up into the air, bring your arms back as far back as they're going to go, and just hold this position. So 3 months supine, but with your arms over your head, your shoulders in flexion, ribs and pelvis in connection, thumbs pointed towards the floor. You want your feet higher than your knees, knees over your hips, hips in external rotation and abduction, so basically not too narrow. And just hold this position. If you feel like you can only get to here, keeping the ribs and pelvis in connection, that's fine. Keep thinking about your breath. Keep pushing your head straight back down towards the floor. And the ankles need to be neutral as well, so they're not just flopping around. And then bring your knees into your chest, into a little ball. Bring your head up towards your knees, so you're just increasing that curve in the spine. And just focus on your breath. And then just staying in your little ball, you're just going to roll onto one side. And then roll back. And then roll onto your other side. Just keep in your ball. Turn your head as well when you're rolling to one side, so you're going to look to the direction that you want to travel. And then what we're going to do next, so you're going to put your legs back into your 3-month supine, and we're going to roll onto our side, but we're going to follow it through into a 3-month prone. So you're going to roll onto one side, bring your arm up, and then roll onto your front. And then roll back into your 3-month prone, 3-month supine, and then roll onto your other side, onto your front, and then roll back, and roll onto your other side. Remember, we are still trying to keep our Lego body, so shoulders and pelvis want to move at the same time, so you're not just taking the shoulders first, then the pelvis, or pelvis and the shoulders. And you don't want to just flop onto your side as well. So you still want this to be a nice, controlled movement. Keep going, just do a few more. And then you are going to finish in your 3-month prone. So on your front, I'm just going to move into a better position. So 3-month prone, we want to make sure that we've got that neutral pelvis. So you'll know if you've got your neutral pelvis because your pubic bone will be pressing into the floor. So if your pubic bone doesn't feel like it's on the floor, you're probably going to be in an anterior tilt. So bring the pubic bone down towards the floor, but try not to just use your glutes to bring it down. So you want to stay nice and relaxed in the hamstrings and the quad calves and the glutes, and we're using our core to bring that pubic bone down towards the floor. And again, we want the rib cage and pelvis to be in connection. So if you can feel the lower part of the rib cage pressing into the floor, then you've probably got your open book appearance. So you want to try and bring the rib cage and pelvis into connection, and your rib cage will come off the floor. And then your elbows, the medial part of the elbow and the forearm is going to be pushing down into the floor. Hands flat on the floor. And then you want to activate through the shoulders. So we're externally rotating and depressing the shoulders again. So you'll feel the activation underneath and around the back of the shoulder. And then you're going to breathe 360 degrees. And then try and lift your head off the floor. Push the floor away with the hands and the forearms. Keeping those shoulders active. And what you don't want to do is just collapse into lumbar extension and anterior tilt. So the pubic bone is going to keep pressing onto the floor. If you feel like your lower back's uncomfortable and it's extending, you're probably tilting your pelvis and extending your lower back. So just try and bring the pelvis into a more neutral position. And then the other part of this that we want to try and do is to try and bring the upper back down towards the floor. So we're lengthening through the upper back again. And so it's the same as that low quadruped position, where you want to try and imagine there's a piece of string pulling your chest bone towards the floor. So lengthening through the upper back, but without just dropping into lumbar extension. So we're keeping that neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, and then just lengthening through the upper back. And just hold in this position. So you might not be able to hold this for too long. You might just want to just relax down and reset. Make sure you've got your pubic bone pressing into the floor, your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, and then lift back up again. And you're focusing on your 360 breath. Make sure when you come up you don't take the neck into extension, so you're keeping the neck nice and long as well. Strengthening those deep neck flexors. And just hold this position. If you need to, go down again, reset, and then just come up when you reset. Lower down. Bring your hands into your sides. Make sure you've got your neutral pelvis and neutral lower back, and you've got a nice long spine. Create your 360-degree breath and your brace, because you're going to lift yourself up into a 6-month prone, but what you don't want to do is just lift up and extend the lower back. So your body wants to move like it's got a stick through it. So from the thighs up through the body, they want to move at the same time. And you're just going to hold this position in this 6-month prone. Fingertips want to be, or your middle finger pointed forward. The hands are going to be pushing straight down into the floor. And we want to lengthen through the spine. So we're not just dropping down and we're not rounding our upper backs. And just hold this position and breathe. And now come back into the 7-month prone, which is the quadruped position. And you're just gonna go from quadruped hinge backwards, keeping the neutral lower back and pelvis, keeping long through the spine, and then you're gonna extend your hips out of that position, keeping that neutral pelvis lower back, and then go forwards into your 6-month prone, keeping neutral the whole time. And then back, so you're just rocking backwards and forwards, keeping control of what's happening in the lower back and pelvis, making sure you don't just round through the upper back as you're moving. So go through that full range from that deep quadruped hinge, straight through into a 6-month prone. So we're going backwards and forwards. It's all about control of the pelvis and lower back. Focus on your breath. Try not to let your mind start wondering about what you're going to be eating for your lunch and what you're doing for the rest of the day. Last one. And then just hold in that deep stretch right back. So feel that stretch through the shoulders. And you're going to breathe into it 360 degrees. So you're in a nice deep prayer stretch. One more breath. And then come out of that position. And you are going to curl your feet under at the back. Make sure you've got your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back. Make sure your hands are pushing straight into the floor so you've got that full connection. And lift the knees off the floor into your bear. And just hold that position. Lengthening through the spine, so make sure you've got your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back. And we've got a nice long upper back and neck. Push the floor away with your hands, so you're trying to lengthen the distance between your wrists and your shoulders. And then straighten the knees, so you're going to push into your downward dog. And hold that position. Try and get your ankles closer to the floor if you can. So you're stretching through the plantar fascia, through the Achilles, through the calves, through the hamstrings, through the glutes. And try and lengthen through the spine. Okay, lower your knees back down. Make sure you've got your good bear position. And then you're going to walk your hands backwards into your squat. Squat forward. And then hold that position down at the bottom. Lengthening through the upper back, try not to let yourself just round. And then we want to keep that nice neutral spine. And then slowly stand out of that position, keeping control of the pelvis and lower back. And then just in your own time, you're going to go down again into your squat, hold for 10 seconds, and then slowly up again. So just in your own time, down into your squat, and hold. And breathe. Every time you go down, every time you come up, really try and focus on what's happening in your pelvis. Think about your foot connection here as well, so big toes pressing into the floor. Make sure that as you're going down, as you're coming up, the weight is going centrally so that you have got that equal distribution of weight between the right and left foot. So the slower you go down and the slower you come back up, the easier it'll be to correct whether you're going from side to side, like to more to one side or not. And then on the next one, put your hands back onto the floor. Walk your hands out into your bear again. And then push your legs back again. So we're going into our downward dog. Lengthening through the spine, lengthening through the backs of the legs. And then take one leg forwards into a pigeon stretch. And just feel that nice deep stretch through that glute or that group of muscles in the butt. Still try and lengthen through the spine. Keep your hands flat on the floor, so don't let your fingers claw. Focusing on your 360-degree breath. And think about where you're feeling this stretch and where you're feeling other parts of the body. Like I can feel it down the front of my right hip, I can feel it in my left glute, I can feel my shoulders activating sort of around the back and underneath. I can feel my deep neck flexors because I'm not letting my head go into extension. And I can feel my ribs and pelvis are connected. So think about what's happening in your body. Okay, curl the back foot under, and then you're going to bring that foot back into your downward dog again. Hold this position and then take the other leg forwards. And again, think about your body. Think about what you're feeling. Keep those hands fully connected with the floor. Keep your neck neutral. Keep your spine nice and long. A few more breaths. And then bring your legs into your oblique sit. So turn around so I'm facing you. And then I just want you to bring your hands forwards so they're touching the floor, and then come up into your tripod position. And we are going to hinge backwards, but only go as far back as your knee feels comfortable. So don't go all the way back if your knee's feeling uncomfortable. So just hinge a little bit further back. You can take your foot further forwards so that you can, if you're not going as far back, you'll be able to get sort of a nice stretch down that front leg. And we're just holding this position, feeling that stretch down that front leg. So I'm just going to turn around so you can come all the way back if your knee feels comfortable, or just take your front leg a little bit further forwards and you can just hinge back a little bit, just so that your knee stays comfortable. And we're trying to keep nice and long through the spine as well, so try not to round through here. You can hinge in and out of that position as well, so just hinging backwards and forwards. Just go to the range where you feel comfortable. And then come into your high kneel position. Foot out to the side. Make sure you're not too narrow with the foot. Pelvis level with the floor and neutral spine. And then put one hand on the inside of your knee and then just rotate round. So we're twisting through the spine. And just hold that position. And then take the opposite hand, grab hold of the outside of the knee and rotate around the other way. And then come back, and we're going to go in from our high kneel into the standing position, so just now in your own time. Make sure you've got level pelvis, knee tracking second and third toe. You're going to curl your back foot under, you're going to shift the weight of that front knee forwards into the front foot and stand. And then slowly lower down. Making sure as we come up and as we lower down, the pelvis stays level with the floor. So just reset everything before you slowly lower down. And then when you come down into your high kneel, just do a little twist at the end. And then come back up. Slowly lower down. So really try and just slow it right down. Maybe try going for 4 to 5 seconds on the way down. And breathe into it. So slowly down. Make sure you plant your feet as well. You want that front foot, that big toe pressing into the floor. You want that full connection from side to side and from front to back. Just do another couple. And then when you're down in your high kneel, you're just gonna bring that front leg back, and we're just gonna lower down, and we'll just do a couple of hip rotations from side to side. Nice and long through the spine. And then come over into your opposite oblique sit. Lift up into your tripod, and again we're just going to do some gentle hinges and then just go back and hold that. So again, only go as far as that back knee feels comfortable. So if you want to just get more of a stretch into your hamstring without going too far back, just take your front leg a bit further back, a bit further forward. So don't force that movement in that back knee if it's not comfortable. And then try and keep nice and long through the spine. Focus on your breath. 360 degrees. Come up into your high kneel. And again, pelvis level with the floor, foot out to the side so you're not too narrow. And then you're just going to rotate, so you put the hand on the inside of the knee and rotate round. And just hold that position. And focus on your breath. And then come the other way, so put your hand on the outside of the knee and spin around. And then come back into your high kneel, and now you're going to do high kneel to stand in your own time with a little bit of a spin. And then we're all done. So pelvis level with the floor, curl the back foot under, and stand. And slowly lower down, so 4 to 5 seconds down. And rotate. Reset the pelvis, and come up. Make sure we've got that full foot connection, so big toe planted into the floor. Keep breathing. Remember to think about your breath, your 360 breath. Use your breath embrace to control what's going on in your body, in your pelvis. Just do a couple more. hope you guys enjoyed that. Apologies for the hair. I will see you all again soon. Bye bye.